Coming up on today's Locked On Senators, it's the middle of August and Shane Pinto is still unsigned. So we're going to take a look at some comparables and think if we can pin down just about what we can expect for his next deal.
And we're going international for our SensCentral Citizen. I love these ones so much. We're going over to the UK to talk to our good friend, Sean Redding.
Fantastic conversation coming up with him. Stay tuned for all that. And Erik Karlsson arrived in Pittsburgh, and I was unprepared for the photo that followed. All that's coming up on today's edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. It's your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Welcome inside episode 854 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Please like and subscribe wherever you download your podcasts. We're also available on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL and enter promo code LockedOnNHL for a free white tech hat with any order. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. I'm wearing the hat right now, and it is dang comfortable. Today is Wednesday, August 9th, and Pilsy, I'm starting to get a little nervous about Shane Pinto being unsigned, the Senators having less than $900,000 in cap with only 10 forwards signed.
Yeah, and Ross, I'm not maybe not as nervous as you, but I'm definitely a little bit nervous because we've seen Pierre Dorion make moves without fully thinking through how he was going to solve them cap-wise before, as recently as the Alex DeBrincat trade, right? And now you bring in Tarasenko, you don't have enough money, or we think you don't have enough money to sign Shane Pinto RFA. So I'm starting to wonder if he has a plan for this, or he's just picking up elite talent and is like, I'll figure it out later.
Well, yeah, future Pierre Dorion problem. Same could be said with signing Mathieu Joseph to a 4-year contract at almost $3 million after an 11-game sample size. Yeah. That was fantastic, but again, he got a hatch against the Detroit Red Wings of all teams. I believe he had maybe like 7 or 8 of his points in those 2 games against Detroit at the end of that season.
And playing on the top line.
That'll help. So, yeah, I think you're putting it in perspective there where maybe it's like that's a future Pierre problem, but the future's now. The future is now. And we have no excuses going into this season. None. But, man, would that just be a black cloud hanging over training camp? If Shane Pinto, coming off a 20-goal season, fully healthy, 82 games after the nervousness that followed the twice injured that ultimately ended his season with shoulder surgery the year before. But then I look at it from the organizational standpoint, Pilsy. Shane Pinto has 99 games of NHL experience.
Less than 100, the Ottawa Senators would tell you.
How much can he realistically be asking for?
I mean, it's hard to say, Ross, because there's so many factors that go into this, like the inflated minutes because Josh Norris was out, the line mates he had. I mean, it can go both ways, the plus minus. Like, there's so many different things that factor into this that make it tough. But we were looking at some comparable contracts around the league, and we started noticing a trend, and I'll let you hit on this because you kind of had the eureka moment. We started noticing a trend where there were guys that were put in positions similar to Shane Pinto, RFAs, that had big years, and the players and their camp were arguing for big dollars, fair. But then the team says, hey, look, we're tight up against the cap. You're an RFA. Let's see what we can do here. And I'll let you kind of expand on that.
Well, and not only that, but Pilsy, like you look at the way that the right side, if they aren't going to stack the top 6, which they could very well do, but if it's just by your primary position, it's Giroux, it's Tarasenko, it's Batherson. So you're telling Shane Pinto that even if, knock on wood, Tim Stützle and Josh Norris are healthy all season, you're still going to get to play with an offensively talented player. Heck, Kubalik's not someone who we should turn our nose up at as well. He could be the guy who plays with Shane Pinto. And these are guys who will hopefully accelerate Shane Pinto's offensive numbers even further than, I know 20 goals looks good. It's a nice round number, but he's not going to be averaging the 18 minutes that he was last year. It's going to realistically probably be more like 16 if you're giving all those important minutes to Norris and Stützle. But by having those guys available to play on the third line, you're in a cap crunch for this 1 year. The dead money's coming off the books. The cap's going up. Tarasenko has $5 million off the books. So you tell Shane Pinto, if I'm the organization, look, we've surrounded you in a position to succeed. We want you to be a third line center in the ilk of Mike Fisher, where you're defensive first, but you're still going to get PP2 minutes. You're great at tipping pucks in front of the net. After this 1 year deal, we want you to take a 1 year deal basically to make up for the burned year that he came out of college and played 10 games, or to make up for the year where he only played 5 games. So there's just so much uncertainty from the 2 seasons that were the first 2 of his entry level that I don't know why Shane Pinto wouldn't just be like, hey, why don't I just consider this, like take a modest raise, I don't know, 1.3, 1.8, somewhere in that 1 point range, knowing that it's more than he would have made on his entry level in that third year, and that he's going to set himself up for the future and to cash in next year and beyond. Because I don't think the Sens are in a position right now with their contracts that they can offer him a 6, 7, or 8 year deal at what would be a fair contract. Because we have noted that Drake Batherson signed his 6-year deal at 4.975 right after his 99th game, Pilsy. He had played exactly 99 games as well, but it's just different circumstances where they were trying to get to the cap floor for the first couple of years of Batherson's deal. So it's just such an interesting moment right now for the Senators to sell Shane Pinto. And I'm obviously of the mind that players should all get paid as much as possible, make your money, support your family, have fun, do all those things. But you have to sell him on the fact that by taking less this year, he's actually going to make more on his next contract.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you got to look at this too. Like, hey, the management has to be like, we have a window here where we really like this roster. It's the best roster we've had in a while. We're going to be a cap team. Like, you're an RFA right now. We need to use our leverage. Let's get something done for 1 year. And after that, we can start talking about a more serious long-term deal at a higher dollar amount. Similar, not exactly the same, but kind of similar to what the Sharks and Kevin LeBanc did. They just said, hey, look, we can't give you your market value right now, and we've got the leverage. We've got to use it. Take a less 1 year deal, and then, we'll help you out on the next one. Kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say honor system because this is business, and if you don't get it in writing, it's not worth anything. But
especially, who knows who the GM's going to sign him to the next contract next year.
Exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. If there is a new GM, they'll be like, well, I don't care about some back alley handshake deal you did. You're still an RFA. I'm going to squeeze you for more. So, and that's fair. That's business. So it's going to be interesting. I think a player comparable that we looked at that I like, Ross, that makes sense is Barrett Hayton with the Arizona Coyotes. 2018, obviously a much higher draft pick, 5th overall.
One spot behind Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah. So you look at last season, he had 82 games, 19 goals, 24 points.
24 assists.
24 assists. My bad. So you're kind of in the Shane Pinto range there. And then you look at the deal he just signed, it's worth 1.775. So
for 2 years. And 2 years is something to keep in mind for Shane Pinto. Again, I think 1 year would be nice if you're going to go short term, but 2 years is what Shane Pinto requires to be an arbitration eligible player. Right now, he has zero leverage. Yeah. His only leverage is sitting out the year. And if I'm the agent, I'm saying Ridley Gregg is right there.
Yeah.
You do not want Ridley Gregg to get the opportunity to take your job. You just don't want it. And I think that they can coexist together, moving Ridley to the wing, being kind of a more hard-nosed forechecker on that same line. But he has the potential to be a third-line center with a lot of grit and determination, that sort of thing. I would not advise Shane Pinto, if I was his agent, to not play. He hasn't played enough games the last few years. He should be playing games.
Well, and that's the thing, Ross. It's a classic game of chicken. You got two cars going at each other as fast as they can. Who's going to flinch? I feel like the Ottawa Senators, like Pierre Dorian's got a brick on the gas pedal and he's just sitting back because he's like, go ahead. I'll call your bluff that you're going to sit out a season in your early 20s when you get a chance to play with one of those wingers you mentioned and or Kubalik on a roster like this. So I think we're going to see a situation where the Senators just wait this out and try to squeeze him for 1 or 2 years at a short dollar amount. And then, like you mentioned, if it is 2 years, then he gets to ARB and then he can be like, even if this handshake deal we have doesn't go, I got an arbitrator that's going to be backed by my numbers and I can bet on myself that way.
Yeah, and I think that he's going to be able to put up numbers to do that. And guys, if anybody knows a thing or two about a game of chicken, it's Pilsy. All right.
Nice.
There you have it. As we are, we got to get to this SensCentral Citizen, by the way, but we want to let everyone know in the comments as well. Let us know what is the ideal contract for not only Shane Pinto, but for the Ottawa Senators who have invested in Shane Pinto, want him to be a part of this core going forward. But there's only so many shekels to go around in a cap environment. So eerily quiet on Shane Pinto right now. But when you look around the league, I think 1.8 to 2.5 is probably the fair range on a 2, 3, or 4 year contract. But that we've seen contracts come in high, we've seen them come in low, but that's kind of the range that I would be looking at if I'm the Ottawa Senators and Shane Pinto. All right, coming up next, across the pond to England we go, and then we'll wrap up with anyways, we'll get to that. That's next. You're listening to Locked On Senators.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Bird Dogs. Ross is wearing the Bird Dog hat. I've been wearing my Bird Dogs. I now have, 4 different, 3 pairs of Bird Dog shorts and joggers, and then the hat as well, the Yeti-style tumbler. I love all the Bird Dog merch, and a reason I love the shorts is they are so comfortable. I'm the type of guy, whenever I'm choosing outfits, function over fashion. Well, why not have both? You can get shorts that are comfortable and fashionable with Bird Dogs. They do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. They fit better than your regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. The cotton gets hot on a summer day, and they fixed an issue of sweating by having a cloud knit fabric that looks just like khakis but stretches to get a slimmer fit without having sacrificed movement. And they got the anti-stink sweating wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Ross has the hat on. I'm going to show you the joggers. These are the joggers. They're so comfy. Ross, I don't know if you've worn them yet. They got a funky lime green inside. These feel like I'm wearing like silk pajamas, but I look like I can go out on a hike with them. You can go out golfing with them. You can go out to drinks with your friends. I wear them when I go to the grocery store. A nice, quick, slip them on, tie the string up, and you're good to go. So you can get yourself a pair by going to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL. Enter promo code Locked On NHL for a free white tech hat with your shirt. If you're watching on YouTube, that's the hat Ross is on. So comfy. So go there today and you won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you.
Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. The Glebe Central Pub is your #1 pub in the heart of the Glebe. Visit them at 779 Bank Street. And when you do, let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. They've got a great combination of interactive games and deals as well. You can go on Instagram and check them all out. Glebe Central Pub. And we just saw Trivia Night was back at Glebe Central Pub the other day. So make sure you don't miss a chance to go. And you're never alone at the Glebe Central Pub. Whether you go with a group of 1, 2, 10, you're always among friends at the Glebe Central Pub. So follow them on Instagram. Check them out in the heart of the Glebe, 779 Bank Street. The buses to the CTC are coming soon. 63 days before the season opener and the home opener right after afternoon game. Going to be buzzing at the Glebe Central Pub. Check them out, 779 Bank Street in the heart of the Glebe, and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, let's get to this week's SensCentral Citizen. Here is Sean Redding. All right, we're now very pleased to welcome this week's SensCentral Citizen. We're jumping across the pond, heading to the UK, where we find Sean Redding. Welcome to the show, Sean. Thank you for being a citizen.
Thank you very much, guys. Good afternoon from the UK. Good morning to you guys over there. Appreciate you guys getting me on the show and stuff to talk about the Ottawa Senators.
Well, this is one people have to go check out on YouTube. And Sean has his own channel, Pompey Games Room. But in the background, you've got a beautiful collage of Senators jerseys. And two-part question. I'll let Pilsy ask our classic first one. But how expensive is it to get those shipped over to the UK?
Very, very. And I'll tell you what, I've made a few mistakes with them. If you don't get them customized, you have to send them off to get them customized again. It's like an $80 trip to then get it customized again, which I did with my Anton Volchenkov one there.
Nice.
But they are. We've got a few since Fanatics have come on board. It's a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, I was lucky. My wife got me. They're both down here, but these two here, the current ones, she got me those for Christmas just been. And they were just frighteningly expensive. So how much do you guys pay for jerseys over there? Because it's been a long time since I've been in Canada.
I think like just classic current jersey, Ross, is what, $250 Canadian?
I think so. Usually we're bargain bin hunters. We'll wait until the sale goes on, and then like Pilsy said yesterday in our jersey video, I bought like 4 or 5, and we scoop them all up when we can. But or you just find one in Toronto, like the $20 one I got. But yeah, if you're buying it off the website, I think it's about $279 plus that. You're looking at like $300 Canadian.
Yeah, it's not far off that, I'd say, over here. So that's not that's probably with the Fanatics thing though, because they're obviously worldwide. So but I did notice actually the jerseys that I got, they came from Camberley, which is quite close to where I live. So they've obviously got stock in the UK.
Oh, sweet.
So I was expecting it to take forever, but it came 2 days later, one of them. So I was like, okay. Anyway,
there you go. Yeah, you would have been perfectly prepared for our jersey draft. You would have had all the jerseys ready to show off, so that would have been great. But Sean, we gotta start this off like we start off every SensCentral Citizen with the classic question: how did you become an Ottawa Senators fan?
So I spent my year out in Ottawa. Ottawa. I went traveling after my college course finished, and that was through 2001, 2002. And I've always been an ice hockey fan. Since I'd say, actually, I've got a few props here, being a video game channel and stuff. So this game, when I was a kid, was like my favorite game.
Yes,
I absolutely love this game with a passion.
What year is that?
That's 2000. So this is the last year that Fox Sports had the license for. But it's a really, really good game. So I've got massive memories of playing this game.
I've never seen that one, Sean. I've never seen the Fox Sport one. That's cool.
Well, there's a shameless plug. There's a review on my channel with this. So anyway, I go through the rosters on this as well. So there's some proper good ones.
Nice.
So this is we got this for Christmas in 2000. So I've always been a fan. But I was a Dallas Stars fan before. Obviously, couldn't watch the games and things. But this was the only game we had. So anyway, that until then. So we went over to Canada. I've got a family in Ottawa in Nepean. Shout out to the Traffords. I went and stayed with them for a good few months, sort of on and off, came back, worked for a little while, went back out. And I was lucky enough to be taken to my first Sens game, which was a pre-season game. I want to say it was against the Leafs, but part of me also thinks it was against Detroit for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, it was against one of those two. And just fell in love with the Senators. I'm a massive Blur fan. Now, Blur do Song 2, which is the music for it's gold. I'm a massive Blur fan. Always have been since the 90s, mid-90s. So I was there, and 2001, 2002, before the internet and stuff, it felt really weird being in an arena, the Corel Center as it was back then.
Yeah.
And hearing Song 2 blurring around, I was like, man, this is crazy. This is so cool. Anyway, so I went to my first game in 2001, 2002. I think it was the pre-season, and people like Lalim, Alfredson, Arvidsson. I think Martin Prusek was the backup.
Nice.
Mike Fisher. I think a young Spezza was on there. Chara, because I think the Yashin trade had happened just before that.
Yep.
Because my uncle Alan, who's sadly not with us anymore, is a massive Sens fan and a Montreal fan, and he was saying, I'm going to butcher the accent here, but anyway, he goes, this Yashin guy was a complete tearaway. We had to trade him off. He sat out a whole season, and he was like telling me all the stuff, all the dirt on this Yashin guy. And obviously, we got quite a haul for him with Chara and was it Spezza was the draft pick that we picked up? So,
and Bill McCult, Sens legend.
Bill McCult, that's it. Yeah. So
you probably have a Bill McCult jersey back there.
I don't. No. Sadly, I don't. No. Although you say that, I do really want to get a classic Jason Spezza jersey. So
like classic. like number 39, like way
But
back.
it's got to be 39. But my wife does have, funnily enough, my my original jersey that I bought at the Corel Centre that night, and she's got Chera on the back.
Wow.
33. I'll send you a picture if you want to put it in. But
That's awesome.
I'd have to get it from the loft, but it is up there. In fact, I need to put it on the wall actually. So yeah, I was spoilt really because from that point on, I think the Sens had sort of they built gradually, and 2001, 2002, obviously that went on. Players like Marian Hossa is my favourite player of all time. Absolutely love the guy. Read his book over Christmas. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of Senators content in there because it wasn't exactly, glory years. But really good. Obviously 80. Well, you can see the 8 there.
Yep.
That was my first jersey. One of my first jerseys I got, and then the Chera one is the red one, so it's this one. But I was a lot smaller back then, so it's medium. It's medium now. So
He says to his wife, "I knew there was something there."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'll just give that to my wife so she can have that one. So anyway, I think I hit the Senators, got on the bandwagon, if you want to say that, at just the right time, because it was like everything was just about to explode. I mean, like players like Martin Havlat were there, and Marian Hossa, Spezza was coming through, Wade Redden was just about to hit his prime, and Alfredson. What a! In fact, I got some more props for you. I picked this up. So these have been in a box for a long time, and they'd actually yellowed. So I had to. Oh, they're holding my laptop up. But these are the bobbleheads.
Nice.
So now I can't get them out because Daniel's head falls off, but they're printed on the back and stuff. These are the Forever Collectibles, Men of the Ice. And I remember getting these, and I felt so cool when I got them because I was like, yeah, it was the typical thing. You go on holiday and you come back speaking like the Canadians, hockey jersey, hockey stick. Oh yeah, So, and I got a Patrick Lalime one. Now Patrick's head does fall off, and he falls off his base, so I got to hold him pretty carefully. But these are really cool. So that's
awesome.
That's all the things. So my first trip back from Canada, I just came back with loads of stuff. But I fell in love with the Senators then, and ever since then we got over here. It's been difficult to watch hockey over here for years. I mean, we had Channel 4, which carried a few games. Then we had was it Satanta Sport? They would carry odd games, but they would never show the Senators games. It was like New York and Philly and all those teams. But occasionally you would catch a Sens game. And then I used to get the hockey news delivered over here for a little while, which was just frighteningly expensive. So I stopped doing that. I asked for it for my birthday one year, and my parents were like, "This is killing us." It's like literally getting out. So anyway, so I stopped doing that in the end. But so I've always followed from afar. Then obviously the internet streaming came in, being able to watch games and the NHL titles themselves, the EA ones. This is the last prop, but that's my favourite NHL game of all time. I love this game.
NHL 02.
Cool. Yeah, when I came back, this was the current one, and I remember picking this up, which would have been, is it GameStop over there?
Yep.
So GameStop was called Game Station over here, and I remember going to Game Station and picking that game up straight off, literally straight home, jet lagged, and going, right, that's it, straight into it. So, and then since then, it's been video game based, watching every game that I can really. But I mean, the past 2-3 seasons, I've been on the NHL network, so that's been amazing watching. I mean, I don't think I've missed a game really.
Wow.
Not live. I've watched most of. I would say probably at least a season. I watch at least 15 to 20 live. I've got a young son, so sort of staying up in the evenings with him, sitting there with my phone and watching. It's been quite memorable actually. Stuff I'll always look back on. But yeah, I mean, I always try and avoid the result waking up in the morning and put it on the office when I'm working and have it in the background. So the past few seasons were a bit. Last season was really exciting at the end of the season. I thought they were going to do it, but just a little bit short.
Hope you're enjoying our chat with Sean. We'll get right back to it. But first, a word from our friends at Shawarma Palace. Go visit Shawarma Palace at any of their 7 Ottawa locations, and you can get them exclusively ordered to your door from Uber Eats. They had the get one free, buy one, get one free deal. Was unreal with the garlic potatoes. We got lots of great feedback for passing that along to the people. Go eat like a royal at Shawarma Palace. I'm telling you, whether you get the platter or the sandwich, it is all delicious food. Fuel-filled, as I like to say, because they give you all the freshest ingredients. They wrap it up. They put it under the press. It's so perfect, right for you. If you get the platter, you got the fresh salad in there. You get the hummus. You get the pita. You get the garlic. You get the potatoes. It's unreal. And I haven't even gotten to the fact that it's on such a bed of fluffed up rice. And then you get your shawarma right on top. Whether you want to get chicken, beef, or falafel, it's all available to you at Shawarma Palace. So go find them on Instagram, Shawarma Palace Ottawa. Check out all 7 of their locations all across town and order online at Uber Eats. Eat like a royal. Eat today at Shawarma Palace and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. All right, now back to our conversation with Sean Redding. So the game started at what, midnight typically for you over there?
It depends where they are. They range. So I think obviously where the conference they're in, it tends to be between 12 and 1. But sometimes on the NHL network, it's over here especially. You get lucky because you get the pre-game show.
Yep.
So I get to see like the warm-up and stuff, which is quite cool. But then you only get that if you watch it live. So when it's finished and you watch it 7 hours later, they've obviously edited that part out, which is a shame. So I try to stay up if I can and watch, but it's just not possible all the time.
So our show probably comes out at the perfect time for you then. If you're just watching the game when you wake up in the morning, then we record and you're able to get like a post-game show.
It's perfect. And that is actually how I found you guys. One of the, I can't remember what game it was, but it was, I think it was the Sens Toronto when they were 5-0 down or something like that. And they won 7-5, 6-5.
Yeah.
That wasn't last season. That was the season before.
That might have been 2 seasons before.
Yeah, because there was no crowd.
That was the COVID.
COVID, of course, yeah. That is actually one of my. I'll get to that later because I think that's one of the questions you asked. But anyway, that's actually I sort of through the chats and through comments is how I found you guys. So like I said off camera, I really appreciate the job that you guys do because it's so difficult in the UK. Like TSN is the main carrier really to watch stuff. And over here, we can't show this video in your region. So it's like you see, Sens contract talks and stuff like that. So like to be able to come on and watch you guys and like these hours, especially the prospect videos, they're really cool. So I play franchise. I've been playing franchise hockey manager recently. I don't know, is it called the same over there?
Yeah.
You get over there? So I've been playing that and like literally I got like Oliver Moore, Oliver Bard, obviously. I was looking at Will Smith. I was like, I know this guy. Oh yeah, I got a scouting team boots on the ground over in town. So, so it was like Anyway, so I'm big into that and stuff. So yeah, the prospects and stuff are really good, and the interviews at the Sensplex and stuff, it's great. So it's about right. I'd say when I get into work in my office chair in the morning, there's a few episodes usually have either gone up that evening when you've done like your live shows sometimes. And
love it.
It's quite handy. So appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Great. Yeah.
So you're dialed in. It seems like daily, obviously, like real fan over there, and to me, that's so impressive of being able to keep up with the time zone changes and being able to battle through content that isn't available. But what is the one moment that you'll YouTube or that you'll pull up when you want to get a good feeling about the Sens? Is there one that stands out? Yeah,
there's a few. I mean, I'm more of a compilation guy. I don't know about you. I don't go for moments, but I say that my first one is a moment. My first one, I think it was 2004, the Philadelphia game, where there was just a massive brawl and everyone was fighting. Yeah. I love that. I think there's a clip on YouTube. It's like about 14 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's just
that's 2004.
Yeah, 2000. I think Jason Spezza even got in a fight off a face-off.
He fought Patrick Sharp.
That's it, Patrick Sharp, of course. And I think the lean for would it have been
Robert Ashe?
Robert Ashe.
Yes, yeah. So it was great. That was my first goalie fight I'd ever seen. So it was like, oh god, this is insane.
And there was nobody left on the bench at the end of the game. It was like 2 guys.
That's it. There was loads of penalties, wasn't there?
Oh,
so
your first goalie fight. What a moment. It doesn't get better than that. Just like, the goalies are fighting now.
Oh, no, yeah. What, they could cross the line? What happens here? It's like, anyway. So that's one moment that I go back and watch. I'd say I watch that at least once a year just for the. Nice. I'm a very nostalgic person, so for my retro gaming channel, I'm into everything from 16-bit to 64-bit consoles. So like nostalgia is everything to me. So watching those old things and seeing the old jerseys, it just never fails to put a smile on my face. Next one would be the 06-07 playoff run. I go back and watch the highlights on that when we got so close. And then when Alfredson smashed the puck at Scott Niedermayer and things like that. So that's always one. But I think that the one that I touched on earlier, the one I've watched several times is the Maple Leafs comeback game. I've watched that. And we've got obviously the Toronto Maple Leafs, Everything or Nothing. Now, I had no interest in watching that until I realised, I thought, wait a minute, the Senators came back against them during this season, and I ended up watching it, and it's in there. There's a whole section. I mean, the only downside is that Kiefer Sutherland goes, the worst team in the NHL, the Ottawa Senators. That's the only thing. But to win on that, it's like I've said to a few of my friends, like, you've got to watch it because it's a really good fly on the wall documentary.
Yep.
And a lot of the people that have watched it have actually become sort of armchair fans. Like, I mean, they're all Maple Leaf fans now, sadly. But yeah, I mean, it's been pretty good to sort of. It's a bit like the content, like I was saying earlier. To have this content out there now really helps. So I'd say, yeah, that's one of my favourite memories the past few years, because I was sitting with my son when I was watching it as well, when he was probably about months old. So so I'll always remember that. And but
that's incredible. You're so dialed in. Yeah, like Ross said, that's impressive. You're able to follow along this closely. Now, have you had a chance to link up or to chat with some of the other Sens fans over in the UK? Because we do have a handful of them that are just as dialed in as you are.
So there is a group on Facebook. Please forgive me if they're UK people are watching this. I am on 2 pages. It's just gone blank. But anyway, yeah, there are a few Sens fans around here. When I used to play roller hockey, there was a few on the team I played with as well. So yeah, I'd say I haven't really had a lot of interaction, but I'm going to Sweden to watch the global series. So I'll meet up with people from there, probably at the airports and things like that. I've only got tickets to one game. I wanted to be back. I don't want to be away from the children and my wife for too long. So, but I before he was traded there, I was like, do I go to Minnesota or do I go to Detroit? And I chose Detroit, and I'm so happy I chose Detroit. So it's gonna. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that game. So, yeah, it's kind of short. I'm expecting a lot of people to be at the airport that I travel from because it's the first game. So it's a lot of people will be heading out for the 2. So yeah, who knows? But I know there are a few pages that I'm on Facebook. I think I don't want to say the names of them just in case I butcher them. But yeah, there is. I think the Ryan Reynolds thing over here, when that was kicking off, like with the potential ownership, because he owns Wrexham over here. Or in Wales, sorry.
Yeah.
When that was happening, there's a few people local to me that follow all that, and they were like, "Oh, he's trying to buy a hockey club." And it's like, "Yeah, he's trying to buy my hockey club." And now everyone's going to support him, and it's going to be like this big. So I wouldn't say I was disappointed when his bid failed, but I was. Yeah, I mean, the Wrexham story you can't argue. I mean, it's been amazing.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Although they got absolutely hammered the other day in a preseason friendly. But anyway, apart from that, it's fine. So.
Well, look, I'm pulling up. These are our numbers just for audio listeners. And you can see the UK outside of North America. We get the most listens from the United Kingdom. So you're definitely not alone over there, although I'm sure you're a couple of those, which we appreciate so much.
Yeah.
You got another one for our boy Sean?
Yeah, absolutely. What have you been to Sweden to watch a hockey game before, or just because the Sens are there, this will be your first trip?
Yeah, I would love to say it's coincidental. I booked a ticket and then they ended up coming over, but no, it is purely going to Sweden just to watch the game. So like I said, it would be great to watch the 2, but I just want to get out, watch the 1 game, and come back and then just watch the highlights. And
for sure. So have you been back to the Corel Center, the Canadian Tire Center since your first time there in the preseason?
Yeah, I counted up. I've seen 7 games since. So, and that's just with trips going over there. So, yeah, I mean, they were, a lot of them were preseason games. I missed. My wife and I took a holiday in New York, and we booked it just before the schedule came out. And we left New York a day before the Senators played at Madison Square Garden. I was like, oh, that would have been. So we went anyway. I think they absolutely hammered the Washington Capitals when we went to watch them. But they were playing the Senators 2 nights later. And I actually said to my wife, should we just extend a day just so we can go? But it was like we had to get back, work commitments and things like that. But yeah, so my children now are getting to an age where we will be able to travel in the future. And we always, one place I didn't get to during my year out was BC. So I thought, well, I'd love to. That's one place. My wife is a big whale fan. She wants to see whales in the world and things like that. So I think a trip to watch the Canucks Sens games in BC somewhere, and then down the line.
Lots of Sens fans out there too, Sean.
Yeah. Well, funnily enough, my cousin Brian is now up in British Columbia, so he's come from Ottawa. So he was yeah, so they were the reason. Obviously, I went to the Sens game when I went over, but they're all over Canada now, so it's
Nice.
you know, I've got a few places to go and call in and see people on the way.
Sweet.
So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm 1-0 watching the Sens play in Vancouver. I got to see the outdoor game that they played there in 2014. Was the one time. Nice comeback win.
Yeah.
Final question for me. Let's talk about the team today. Like, are you confident going into the season with the changes? Like how are you feeling about the team going into training camp?
I'm really, really like. I think. I mean, watching your guys' content as well, I think it's a solid team. The one thing that does worry me is the whole Pinto thing. So someone's going to go. I really hope it's Joseph. I just think Brandstrom. Like, I think you guys touched on it a few episodes ago. He actually had a really good year last year. Yeah. So I think just want to hope now that's the start of something for him. And I think Joseph's a good player, but I just don't think he offers what we necessarily need for the price we're paying him. So I think if anyone's going to go, it'll be him. Get Pinto on board. I'm really excited to see Tyler Clevin. I really enjoyed watching him towards the end of last year. I think my favourite player is Thomas Chabot. So like any D man, I really like to see it, especially Sanderson last year. I mean, man, that was such a great arrival into the NHL. Yeah, I'm really excited about this year, and I think the trade for the Brinkat, yeah, the gun to the head doing it, but it could have been a lot worse. It could have just been draft picks. We then would have had to go out and get someone else. Yep. But I think he slots in pretty with Kubalik, isn't it? That came back. So, I mean, let's be honest. The Brinkat, he didn't exactly set the world on fire last year with goals. So with Kubalik coming in, especially if he's going to be that sort of player, getting Norris back as well is going to make a big difference. But I think a lot of people say it, but how they're going to say his shoulders repaired, but it's just a worry. If he goes down again, we're sort of in the same position as we were last year. But I am confident, though. I look at the teams around us, and I just think, yeah, Buffalo are good. They've got a lot of good young prospects that have come through, but at the same time, so have we. So it's like, it works both ways. I think it's just going to come to... Look, if we changed our November last year, we would have been in the playoffs. It's just little incremental changes that you have to make over the season. Just maybe win a game in November, just start from there. You know what I mean?
Those games in Sweden.
I was just about to say, you watch, they'll lose both those now.
No. So. They're good in Sweden.
Yeah,
they are.
They are. Last decade, yeah. I think they went 1-1 the first time they went over. So 3-1 record in Sweden. That's good. We got to build off of that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, it's I'm confident this season. I think we'll do well. I think it's going to be. I mean, meaningful hockey last year. I mean, that was the goal, and we got that. It was so annoying because that November just. For him to name the month, that's going to make our season. Then we did so bad in November. Literally, it was just like you couldn't have written it last year. But yeah, I am. I'm really confident. I've got to admit, I really like Korpisalo, and I'm not going to blow my own trumpet here, but I did call that. Nice. So even on one of your comments, I think everyone was voting, and I went for Korpisalo, so I was very proud of that.
There you go. Nice, you got one there.
So I got one there. But anyway. Yeah, I think the problems we have we've addressed. So I think the goaltending, and I think Korpisalo's I can't remember who I was watching. It might have been one of the other streams, but they were chatting about Korpisalo, and he was a brilliant player on a very bad Columbus side like a few years ago, and his numbers were really good. And going to LA, apparently they tried to keep him as well, but he wanted long term. So yeah, I'm really excited. Cut a long story short. So
that's awesome. So are we, and we're gonna have to check back in with you after the Global Series, Sean. We need to hear that boots on the ground report. We appreciate you being a fan of the show. We appreciate you coming on. The jersey wall looks great. We're gonna do this again right after you watch them absolutely destroy Alex DeBrincat in November. Thanks again, Sean. Appreciate this.
No problem. Thanks very much, guys. Take care.
All right, Pilsy. Stick taps to Sean for joining us. Really fun conversation with him. Loved going international for these SensCentral Citizens.
It's one of my favorites. And we said it multiple times during the interview, Ross, but it just blew our mind how dialed in this guy was, watching so much Sens hockey at 1 a.m, just starving for content. And bonus points, always bonus points to the SensCentral Citizens that come prepared. He knew the questions we like to ask. He had his props ready. He set up the jerseys in the back. Like, that's stuff you love to see. So we love the enthusiasm and love the support over in the UK.
From things I love to things I hate, Pilsy,
Oh.
what was your first reaction when you saw Jason Spezza wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins emblem welcoming Erik Karlsson to town?
That is like, why did the Penguins got to do us like that? Like, we get it. We've had to suffer and we've had to hate the Pittsburgh Penguins for so long. Then they get two Ottawa Senators captains together that are now a part of the Pittsburgh Penguins organization and take a picture and post it. Like, that is so terrible. It makes me sick to my stomach seeing Erik Karlsson and Jason Spezza as members of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Disgusting.
Let's just hope it stays at 2 former Sens captains, because every day that it takes longer for Michael Andlauer to own the Ottawa Senators and the potential reunion with Daniel Alfredsson, I just see it as though Spezza and Karlsson and Dubas are just calling Alfie every day. That's just the way I see it, is that I think that they are trying to get Alfie. But I think Alfie's too comfortable. He's got the paddle community in Ottawa, and he's a legend here. Come on. I think that I hope that that's just a nightmare that I keep having. But there's a world where I see it happening, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah.
To happier news, and I mean happier with an asterisk, that the Leafs should never have been able to get away with putting Matt Murray on the injured reserve long term to be able to get this cap flexibility
Illegal.
out of nowhere. Assault, illegal, like collusion, all the words like, oh yeah, your revenue's high, so you get to, create an island for players that you don't want.
Just make a mockery of the salary cap.
We need to stand up for Jared Cowan's honor.
Yes.
He was ready to play. So was Stefan Robida. So was Joffrey Lupul.
I was going to say Joffrey Lupul was ready.
He was on record actually saying that he was. So
yeah.
But anyway, who do the Maple Leafs sign as their third goalie or second, depending on how you feel about Joseph Woll?
Or first.
Martin Jones, who I see as a Sens legend. And Martian DM'd us. He said, why? Well, he's the reason why the Sens got Tim Stützle. Come on.
Yeah, Martin, we do owe Martin Jones a lot. Honestly, if I saw him, I'd buy him a beer and thank him. Like, he's
Mr. 897. I think he had 3 straight seasons where he had an 897 save percentage.
Yeah, so you love to see that he's joining the Leafs. Could be another boost for the Sens. Although he definitely has gotten better, but I don't know if Leafs fans love this move, which I think is funny. Sure, it's low risk. I'm pretty sure he's...
Dang it. It was 896 3 years in a row. And he played 62, 41, and 34 games. And an identical save percentage.
Yeah, that was clutch for the Sens. But we'll see what kind of role he ends up playing with the Leafs. But
last year was an 886 save percentage.
But he got a lot of wins for subpar numbers, like
27, 13, and 3. All right,
yeah.
that was talking Leafs. I think really what Sens fans are curious about right now, it's the Shane Pinto contract, it's the Igor Sokolov contract, and it's how the heck are they going to fit all this under the cap?
Yeah, and I mean, Ross, they only have, I think, 18 of 23. 18 of 23 contracts right now.
Well, no, because I think they still have Forsberg and Josh Norris on IR.
Fair. Yeah, and someone on Twitter asked us for an update on those two guys. At least Ross, I don't have it. I haven't heard or seen any update. I'm expecting them to be ready for training camp, good to go. Like, for me, no news is good news on these guys.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited to see what happens come training camp, which is expected to open middle of September. The rookies will begin their rookie tournament in Buffalo on, I've got this on my calendar here, on September 15th against New Jersey, then Pittsburgh, then Montreal on the 18th. So that's all exciting things that are coming up in the next month. We've got our organizational value rankings to come. Those will be in the next few weeks. We've got our Ring of Honor drafts that are continuing to get more contentious, and you can still have your vote, but I think there's only one person without a win. But we'll get to that on Friday's show. Also on Friday's show, Pilsy, a little prospect talk with a good friend of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to have Scott Wheeler back on. We're going to ask him about his recent article where he does a redraft of the 2020 NHL entry draft. I think you guys are going to like that one. Yeah, always great to have Scott Wheeler back on.
So stay tuned for all that. But for today, we say goodbye. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.